I'm Art Holst, and the video you're about to see will give you an idea of how my 45-year career as a salesman, businessman, and National Football League official go together to bring your organization an entertaining as well as educational and motivating message. I make it my business to talk with every client in advance about your business, your goals, your changes, your challenges. I want to tailor my presentation to your specific needs. So let's go. And if you'd like to speak with me or need additional information, call the agency or person from whom you received this tape.
Well, that was a lot better than the introduction I had the other day in Indiana. I spoke over in Indiana for about 5,000 farmers, and this farmer got up to introduce me. He looked at his notes. It says here, our speaker needs no introduction. He said, I hope that's true because I never heard of him before.
But can he come from the line of scrimmage? I don't think so. That's not good enough. Oakland snapped the ball. I threw the flag, not too high.
I said to a young banker, how long have you worked for the bank? He said, ever since the day they threatened to fire me. Now, he didn't. Before I could turn my head, I heard his gun go bang, bang. He said, Art, I got 2 of his cows. Let's get out of here.
So you could have, so people say to me, well, didn't you have trouble with those guys that are twice your size and half your age? Look at there. You saw me when I got up here. People say, what do you say to guys like Mike? How did you handle that on the field? I said, look, I look them right square in the navel and say very little.
Now, Madden's over there. He's selling Ace Hardware. I came over, I walked up to him, and he said, Art, what in the world are you doing to us? I said, John, it is illegal for that guy to go in motion from the end of that line. And this, ladies and gentlemen, and this is an absolutely true story. I ham it up a little bit, but it's a true story. Word for word is what John Madden, the head coach of the world champion Raiders, said to me on that sunny Sunday. He said, Art, this is our secret play. He said it's the only thing we practiced all week.
And if you want an easy job, I'll tell you what to do. Coach track. All you got to do is tell them stay to the left and come back as quick as you can. Keeping up to speed and training on new technology. All the time, new things happening, hardware, software, communications equipment, all the rest. And being sure, big one, being sure everyone is committed to following the game plan, taking you from good to great. In football, as Mike and I both know, and John played too, one guy can screw up a play. I saw one of the greatest football players of all time, Lombardi called him the greatest of all time, that he ever coached. He didn't make a mistake, but he had something happen to him that changed the championship. One man. Here's the thing you got to remember about changes and problems. They don't advertise themselves. They don't say we're going to come fly into that building tomorrow, I'll be ready. They don't say the stock market's going to drop 400 points tomorrow, I'll be ready. Or sell. They don't say that. See, changes and problems come unexpectedly.
I was reminded of this lack that I have in the upper story during the conduct of my hobby or weekend profession. We were working a game in Cleveland, my first year in the National Football League. I came in 1964, and Cleveland's fullback was Jim Brown, a good football player, 6'3", ran 100 about 9'5", tough to bring down. Cleveland was playing Dallas. Brown came through the line with a ball, and the big middle linebacker for Dallas, a big bald guy. Incidentally, I see a lot of fellas here in varying stages of baldness. Matter of fact, there's a great reflection from right here in front from John Daniel. Don't feel bad, John. They don't put marble tops on cheap furniture, I'll tell you that. Well, as I say, I don't have too much up here. Brown came through the line with the ball. That big middle linebacker went to tackle him. When he did, he grabbed his face mask, and that isn't fair, and that's why we're out there. And I threw the rag and stopped the clock. Told the referee I got number 55 on the defense, pulled on the face mask, personal foul, 15 yards. About that time, this guy jumped up. All 6'6", 260 pounds of him. He looked down at me. He said, "What?" I said, "Get back in there and play football before I bite your head off." And they're all real good guys. Very politely he said, "If you do, sir, you'll have more brains in your stomach than you have in your head." Tell you that. Well, we talked about the first year that I came in the league. I've been asked last night at the table about the last game that I worked. The last game that I worked was a championship game in 1979 in the freezing rain in Three River Stadium at Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh beat Houston 34-5 with the ice hanging from the goalposts. But 4 weeks before that, this is a true story, I had been in Pittsburgh for a late afternoon regular season game between Pittsburgh and the Dallas Cowboys. One of those 4 o'clock nationally televised jobs. The score was 21-17 Pittsburgh in the third quarter when Rod Staubach, quarterbacking Dallas, got hit in the head and went down. Now, in pro football, a timeout for an injured player prior to the last 2 minutes of the half does not count against the 3 that they guard so carefully. It's a referee's timeout. But unbeknownst to us, the scoreboard operator in Pittsburgh, a guy I'll never meet, a guy who probably thinks his job doesn't mean anything, put one timeout on the board for Dallas when there are really none. Now, we don't look at the scoreboard. We can't see the scoreboard. That's... You folks still out there? Now, we got one time up on the scoreboard when there were really none. Staubach has to go out. He comes back in. A few plays later, he gets hit again. Down he goes. We signal timeout. Charge it to us. Still no charge timeouts for Dallas, but this guy puts 2 up on the scoreboard. Now with a minute and 50 seconds left in a football game, Dallas ball, Pittsburgh 25, still trailing by 4. Staubach called his first timeout, Dallas. We mark 1 on the game card, and this guy puts 3 on the scoreboard. Developing problem in communications. Things are not what they are what? What people think they are. And 55,000 people in Pittsburgh thought there were 3 timeouts against Dallas. Now with a minute and 20 to go in the ball game, Dallas ball, Pittsburgh 20. Staubach called his second timeout, Dallas. We mark her down, and this guy puts 4 up on the scoreboard. And immediately, Chuck Noll, the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, began to holler at me, something like, "Pardon me." Or words to that effect. And I could not figure out what this great coach was so upset about. I didn't even turn around. Now with 20 seconds left in the game, Dallas ball, Pittsburgh 18, 4th down. Staubach called his third and last time out, Dallas. We mark her down, and this guy puts 5 up on the scoreboard, and Chuck Noll hollered out, "Turn around and talk to me, you dirty pantaloon." I turned around and said, "What do you want to talk about, Coach?" And he's standing in that 6-foot wide white stripe area he's not supposed to be in. He said, "I want to talk about how many timeouts you're giving to Dallas." I said, "We're giving them 3, Coach, and you get back out of the white." He said, "You've already given them 5, and he took 2 great big steps across the white, out onto the field, right in front of my nose on national television. I said, "No, Coach, we've given them 3, but I'm going to give you 15 yards, and I threw the flag in the air. Oh, was that popular in Pittsburgh? They were going to name me Steel Queen. Now, Bob Frederick, our referee, had been over to tell Landry he just used his last time out. He turned around just in time to see my rag hit the ground, and 55,000 people start to boo me. Bob ran all the way across the field, ran up to me and said, "Artie, what have you done?" I said, "I have just ducked the Pittsburgh coach half the distance to the goal. Put that ball on the 9 and give Dallas a first down." He said, "Yes, and I have to walk it off." I said, "That's the penalty of leadership. Walk." And then the greatest thing that happened to me in a 15-year career in professional football happened on the next play. Staubach went back to pass, hit Drew Pearson in the end zone right in the numbers, and he dropped it. If he hadn't dropped that ball, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be pushing up marble in some cemetery. Now, 4 weeks later, just 4 weeks later, the National Football League sent me back to Pittsburgh to work that championship game with Houston. Nobody decides who's going to work where in this league except that league office at 280 Park Avenue in New York. And the officials are rated every week 4 times. They're rated by a guy in the press box. That's what I do now. Off the films in New York and by both coaches. At the end of the year, they add up those ratings, and if you are rated number 1 in your position, you work the Super Bowl and wear one of these rings that I proudly wear. And if you're rated 2nd or 3rd, you work the championship game and so on down the line, because you see, we in the National Football League, like you in St. Paul Medical, focus on success with excellence. So back I go to Pittsburgh to work that championship game with Houston, and I hadn't been there since they'd stuck Mr. Knoll, the only unsportsmanlike conduct foul he had ever had as the head coach, just 4 weeks before. Another true story. I get to the ballpark about 11 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours before the game, and I had to get this leg tape. So I walk into Knoll's office to get permission to use the training room. Haven't seen him since I stuck him in that Dallas game. Just the two of us. He got up from behind the desk, walked around, smiled, stuck his hand out, and said, "Art, congratulations. I'd worked the Super Bowl the year before when Dallas beat Denver, and I guess I was rated second or third that last season." I said, "Thanks." He said, "What do you want?" I said, "I got to get my leg tape." He said, "Come on, I'll take you over to the training room." It's about a half a block. We walked over there, talked about the weather, families. Never once did that great coach ever mention that call. He was able to take it, put it in a box, learn from it, forget about it. Well, we got to the training room, and if you ladies would like to know what it's like, there's been a lot of interest in that in the past couple of years. They got these flat leather tables with the black leather tops. Linemen and linebackers get taped first. Backs and ends get taped last. Some big lineman is laying here getting taped, and 2 or 3 other guys are standing around in their underwear waiting. And Noel said to the trainer, he said, "Get this guy down." He said, "Art's got his pregame duties to do." And he got down, I got up. They start to tape this leg, and Noel started to leave. I said, "Coach, wait a minute." I said, "You're the head coach of a championship team in a championship game, and you take the time, the attention to detail to see that I get my leg taped, and I just want you to know that I appreciate it." He said, "Art, I want to tell you something." He said, "When you're the head man, you got to be a detail man, you got to be an organizer, you got to be a communicator." And then he said, "Art, you got to be a delegator." He said, "By the way, Mean Joe Green wants to talk with you about that call you made in the Dallas game." Well, he walked out, and when he did, standing right beside me was Big Jack Lambert, the big red-bearded linebacker for the Steelers, retired a couple of years ago. He's in the Hall of Fame now. I don't know Lambert off the field. He may be great, but I'm going to tell you one thing. When Jack Lambert put on a football suit to go to work, he had no friends. And I had a lot of fouls against Lambert. He did not like me. So the minute Noel left the room, Lambert looked down at me, and he said, "You again?" I said, "That's right, Lambert." He said, "Every time we get a big football game, you and your yellow flag against the Steelers." I said, "Lambert, just knock it off. I'll see you on the field in 2 hours. Get out of here. You got to take command." Foolish as it was. Well, he turned around. He walked about 2 steps. He turned around again with a great big grin on his face. And he said, "I'll say one thing, Art." He said, "You're the second best football official in the National Football League." Man, I felt good. I said, "Who's first?" He said, "The other 98 are tied." So, so what I'm saying to you is, if you're in second place, don't get too smug. Everybody else might be tied for first, and that just makes you last. There's only one place to finish in this world, and that's on top, and that's what I'm here to talk with you about. And so I'm going to talk with you about the challenge of excellence, tell you up front that I don't know much of all about your business. Number one, are you up to the challenge of change? The only thing that we can be sure of, other than death and taxes, is it's going to be different tomorrow than it is today. Yet people say to me, "I can't change. I've always done it this way." I talked the other night, Tammy, for a group of young bankers. I said to a young banker, "How long have you worked for the bank?" He said, "Ever since the day they threatened to fire me." Now, something that has been said at this meeting today will influence the future of your career. Don't forget it and figure out how you're going to use it. All of the changes that you'll have, mergers and acquisitions, both as agents and brokers as well as companies, things are changing as Rick Barrera pointed out yesterday, increasingly competitive, pressure on prices, pressure on commissions. So you're in the business of redesign, as Rick pointed out yesterday. You're constantly in the business of redesigning your business to meet the needs of your customer, to cover the bases, and to be 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of the competition. Football's a game of change. That quarterback calls a 49 sweep in the huddle. That's a 4-back through the 9-hole, fullback wide to the right. Comes up the line of scrimmage, sees the defense set against that play. Does he buck his head against a stone wall? Of course not. He uses that individual God-given power of choice and calls an audible, an automatic. He changes things at the line of scrimmage based on his own knowledge within the framework of the game plan. He reaches down, tickles the center. That's what they do. That's why they all ought to be centers. It feels so good. He reaches down, tickles the center, and says, 48, blue, VP Excel. I don't know what that means. You better know it's that performance project to reduce your expenses and increase revenue. But 10 of their offensive football players, when they hear VPXL, they say it's no longer a 49. That's a square out pass. And that split end, that tight end. He says, I don't block the linebacker, but I got to go down 4 steps, turn to the left. Quarterback throws in the ball. He goes for a first down, touchdown. Why? Because he had the ability to change. You can't sink one end of a boat. I told you this stuff was deep. Guy getting it down now. I can't sink one end of a boat. If the people in the back of the boat don't like what the people in front are doing, say, I got an idea, let's go up and drill a hole and sink them suckers. I got news for you, all going down. Paint the boat, repair the boat, change the boat, but don't sink the boat. Now we call that the discipline of loyalty. And that's what you have in this room. You people who represent St. Paul in the medical liability field. You are all in the same boat, trying to improve the boat, make it faster, make it look better, and serve better as you go. That's loyalty, folks. And boy, did I learn about this loyalty in football. We had a game in Chicago between the Bears and the Green Bay Packers, great rivalry. I called a clip against the Bears in the fourth quarter, took the winning touchdown away. Now, clipping, if you don't know, is blocking from the rear. Blocking from the side is not a clip, but the problem is always the gray area from right in here. That was a block right in here, and I called it a clip, took the winning touchdown away. I got torn apart on television, the papers. The next week, we're in New Orleans, sitting in a hotel room with 5 rolls of slow-motion film. Now it's videotape, as every crew does every week, with a critique sheet from the league office. And they got a big red question mark by that play, said, check this, we don't think it's a clip. Ran the play 4 times. 4 of the guys wouldn't take a stand, but Tony Viteri, my friend, the head linesman, with whom I differed occasionally, jumped up. He said, Art, you know better than that. There was no clip. Now, I was on a short fuse. I jumped up and I said, Tony, it was a clip. He said, it wasn't a clip, and we ended up toe-to-toe and had to be pulled apart. And I've seen that many times. But I'll tell you something I have never seen. I have never seen one football official show up another one on the field. If that back judge calls some little bump pass interference, and the guy couldn't have caught the ball with a butterfly net, you don't see the field judge come over and say, oh, my God, Bobby, how could you call that? He comes over what? Smiling, supportive, nodding his head. They're on the same team, saying, Bobby, dummy. Pick up your flag. He couldn't have caught it with a net. You talk about loyalty, problem solver, you see. Are you a problem solver? Now, we got, in our society today, we got a lot of problem finders. Find something wrong with everything. You can't eat hot dogs, they got monosodium glutamate in them. Can't eat chicken, they got cancer. About the only thing you can eat is pizza. Problem finders are a dime a dozen. Remember this, you would not go to a doctor who said, you got Framisamus pepilumum of the gizzard, I'll see you. You want diagnosis and treatment. That's what your customers want. And you have different kinds of clients, different kinds of needs that you must meet within the framework of the coverages that are provided by St. Paul. And we have the same thing. And our responsibility, the head linesman and the line judge, run that line of scrimmage in football. Now, I'll ask you a simple question. How many men do you have to have in a line of scrimmage in a football game? Answer. Got 7, right. You say, why is that important? Well, if you have 6, it's a foul. I had that foul against Dallas in the Super Bowl. They used a lot of those sets, and I had that in the Super Bowl against Denver, Super Bowl 12. But the question further arises, can you legally have 8 men on the line? Answer, yes. 9, sure. 10, absolutely. Only have to have 1 guy in the backfield. But what do you see? Play after play, game after game, you see 7 men on the line of scrimmage, and human beings are creatures of habit. You, me, all of us like to do it the same today as we did it yesterday, so we can be doing it the same tomorrow because the rut gets comfortable. But I'm here to tell you that the only difference between a rut and a grave is its length and its depth and how long you were in it. Everybody in here, do this. We're going to do this. I do this in the summer. I'm going to do it today. Raise your hands this way. Can you see me up here? Everybody see me? Now, take your thumb and right hand, thumb and forefinger, form it into a circle like this. Now bring it down to your chin like this, to your chin like this. Your chin is here, folks, for God's sake. You're running a bank, for God's sake, and you don't know where your chin is. No, you're normal. You didn't do what I said. You did what I did. I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely show the way. The eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is important, but example is always clear. And the best of all the preachers are the men who live their creeds. For to see the good in action is what everybody needs. I can soon learn how to do it if you let me see it done. I can watch your hands in action.
though your tongue too fast may run. And the lectures you deliver may be very wise and true, but I'd rather learn my lesson by observing what you do. For I may misunderstand you in the fine advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding how you act and how you live. You've been a marvelous audience, absolutely. But here's the big one. Are we men and women of creative action? Here's where you lay it on the line. You can know that rule book in football cold. You can be in the best physical condition. But the real question comes when you ask yourself, am I willing to throw the flag for pass interference on the 1-yard line with the score tied, 80,000 people looking down my throat in the World Championship game and 113 million watching on television as we had in my last Super Bowl? Willing to stand up and be counted when the going gets tough. That's the question. That's the question. Now, all of you in this room, and me included, we can walk out of here when this is over and do things the way we've always done them before. That's our right as free people. That's our right as free people. But Rudyard Kipling said it best. He said, what you do when you don't have to determines what you will be when you can no longer help it. You are good. Your growth, your profits, your service to people are wonderful. But the question, as I leave you, is the same as the question in front of the New England Patriots, the world champions of football. And that question is not, how good are you? The question is, how good can you be? Because you see, no matter how good you are never, never so good that you can't be better. And you can be excellent if you care more than others think is wise. You risk more than others think is safe. You dream more than others think is practical. But most important of all, you expect more than others think is possible. I represent your customers. You serve us well, but we expect you to be even better. That's it. From good to great. Good luck. God bless you, and good day.
Great job. You can stay for the lunch.
Oh, yeah, I'll stay for lunch.